Dad perfect events. 3 weeks ago, I woke up in the middle of the night with chest pains. My wife, Patricia, was standing next to my bed with a glass of water and 2 pills in her hand. "Take these, honey," she whispered. "They'll help with the pain." Something in her voice made me pause. In 32 years as an insurance investigator, you develop instincts about when people aren't telling the truth. My name is Howard Pierce. I'm 58 years old, and I spent most of my career investigating insurance fraud. I thought I'd seen every scam in the book. Turns out I hadn't seen the one happening in my own bedroom. Let me back up a little. I lost my first wife Nancy to cancer 3 years ago. We'd been married 28 years, and losing her nearly broke me. When I met Patricia Wells at the hospital where Nancy was being treated, she was the head nurse in oncology. She was kind, caring, and helped me through the worst time of my life. We got married 2 years later when I was 55. I thought I'd found happiness again. Patricia was 44, never been married, dedicated to her job. She seemed perfect, too perfect as it turns out. The first red flag came about 8 months ago. Patricia started asking questions about my life insurance policy. "Honey, with inflation these days, don't you think $200,000 is too low?" she'd say. "What if something happened to you? I'd be left with nothing." She kept pushing me to increase it to $400,000, said she'd sleep better knowing I was properly protected. Then came the questions about my health. Patricia would mention articles she'd read about heart attacks in men my age. "You know, Howard, heart problems can come out of nowhere. Even healthy men drop dead at 58. She'd look at me with those concerned eyes. "Promise me you'll get a full physical." I got the physical. Doctor said I was in great shape for a guy my age. Blood pressure perfect, cholesterol fine, heart strong as a horse. But Patricia kept worrying. She started making me these special smoothies every morning. Antioxidants, she'd say, to keep your heart healthy. That's when I started feeling sick. It began with headaches, then dizzy spells. My heart would race for no reason. I'd wake up nauseous, sometimes vomiting. Patricia was so concerned. She'd take my temperature, check my pulse, suggest I see a cardiologist. "Maybe it's stress," she'd say. "You've been working too hard." The thing is, I'd been retired for 8 months. My old partner Carl Richards called me one afternoon. We'd worked together for 15 years investigating fraud cases. "Howard, you sound terrible," he said. "What's going on?" I told him about the symptoms, the doctor visits, how Patricia was taking such good care of me. Carl went quiet for a minute. Then he said, "You know what this reminds me of? That case we worked in 2018. Remember the nurse in Detroit?" Yeah, I remembered. Linda Morrison, ICU nurse. Poisoned 3 husbands with digitalis, small doses over months. Symptoms looked like heart problems. She collected $800,000 in life insurance before we caught her. "Carl," I said, "that's crazy. Patricia's a nurse, sure, but she loves me." "Maybe," Carl said, "but you're an investigator, Howard. What would you do if this was someone else's case?" That night, I didn't drink Patricia's smoothie. I poured it into a jar instead and hid it in the garage. The next morning, I felt fine. No nausea, no dizziness. Just to be sure, I skipped the smoothie for 3 more days. My symptoms disappeared completely. I took the jar to a private lab in the next town. It cost me $200, but it was worth it. The results came back positive for digitalis, a heart medication that's lethal in high doses. In small doses, it causes exactly the symptoms I'd been having. My wife was poisoning me. I sat in my car outside the lab, staring at the report. 32 years of investigating other people's betrayals, and I'd missed the one in my own kitchen. Patricia had access to all kinds of medications at the hospital. She knew exactly how much digitalis would make me sick, without killing me, yet. But why make me sick first? Then it hit me. She needed a medical history. If I suddenly dropped dead with no prior symptoms, it might raise questions. But if I'd been having heart problems for months, if I'd been to doctors, if there was a paper trail of cardiac issues, then a fatal heart attack would seem natural. She was building a case for my death. I went home and acted normal, kissed Patricia hello, complained about my headache, let her fuss over me. That night, I pretended to drink the smoothie, but dumped it out when she wasn't looking. I started carrying a small recording device, old habit from my investigating days. Over the next week, I documented everything. I photographed the smoothie ingredients when Patricia wasn't home. I found a vial of digitalis hidden behind cleaning supplies in the basement laundry room. I set up a small camera in the kitchen and caught Patricia adding liquid from an unmarked bottle to my morning drink. The hardest part was pretending everything was normal. Patricia would hold my hand and say things like, "I just want to take care of you, sweetheart." She'd rub my chest when I complained of heart pain. She'd suggest calling 911, then talk me out of it. "Let's see how you feel in the morning." She was playing the concerned wife perfectly. I needed more evidence, so I started following Patricia when she left for work. 3 days a week, she didn't go to the hospital. Instead, she drove to Riverside Apartments across town. Unit 4, B. I sat in my car and watched through binoculars. At 2:30 p.m., a man came out. Tall, dark hair, about 45. He kissed Patricia goodbye. I ran the license plate. Dr. Harvey Coleman, cardiologist at Mercy General Hospital. Same hospital where Patricia worked. They'd been having an affair. I tailed them for 2 weeks. Restaurants, hotels, long walks in the park holding hands. Harvey Coleman was married with 2 teenage kids. Patricia was planning to leave me for him, but not before. Collecting my life insurance. The pieces were falling into place, but I needed proof of their plan. I managed to get into Harvey's office after hours. Old skills die hard. His computer password was his daughter's name, plus his birth year. Took me 3 tries. The emails were all there. Patricia and Harvey had been planning my death for 6 months. They discussed digitalis dosages, timing, how to avoid suspicion. Harvey promised to be the attending physician if I was brought to the emergency room. He'd confirm heart failure, sign the death certificate, and make sure there was no autopsy. 6 more weeks of small doses, Patricia had written. Then we increased to the fatal amount. Make it look like his heart just gave out. Natural progression from his recent symptoms. They'd already booked a Caribbean cruise for April, 2 tickets, first class, departing 6 weeks after my projected death date. I copied everything to a flash drive and sat in Harvey's office, reading through months of their correspondence. The coldness of it shocked me. They discussed my death like a business transaction. Patricia complained about having to play the loving wife for much longer. Harvey worried about the investigation timeline, wanted to make sure enough time passed between my death and their vacation. Howard's been asking more questions about his symptoms, Patricia had written in one email. I told him it's normal aging, but he's getting suspicious. We might need to move up the timeline. Harvey's response chilled me. Don't rush it. 1 more month of documented symptoms, then we make our move. The insurance company will pay out faster with a clear medical history. They were treating my murder like a medical procedure. I printed everything and drove straight to the police station. Detective Dorothy Kane had worked several cases with me over the years. She knew I didn't make accusations lightly. Dorothy was in her early 50s, sharp as a tack, and one of the best investigators I'd ever worked with. "Howard," she said, after reviewing the evidence, "this is solid, but we need them to make an actual attempt. We need proof of intent, caught in the act." "What do you mean?" "Right now, we have conspiracy and attempted poisoning. But for the strongest case, we need to catch them in the act of trying to kill you. Are you willing to be bait?" I thought about Nancy, about how she'd fought cancer for 2 years, never giving up hope. She would have wanted me to fight too. What do I need to do? Dorothy laid out the plan. I'd continue pretending to drink the poison smoothies, but we'd replace them with harmless substitutes. We'd set up surveillance in my house. When Patricia made her move to administer the fatal dose, we'd catch her red-handed. "The emails show they're planning something big in the next 2 weeks, Dorothy said. Harvey mentioned a final injection to simulate a heart attack. We'll be ready." I went home that night and looked at my wife differently. Patricia was setting the table for dinner, humming softly. She looked beautiful in the kitchen light, domestic and peaceful. It was hard to believe this same woman had been planning my death for months. "How are you feeling, honey?" she asked, touching my forehead. "You look pale." "Just tired," I said. "Maybe I should see that cardiologist you mentioned." Her eyes lit up. "Dr. Coleman? He's excellent. I could arrange an appointment." Of course she could. Harvey was probably already preparing my death certificate. "That would be great," I said. "The sooner the better." Patricia smiled and squeezed my hand. "I just want you to be healthy, sweetheart. I don't know what I'd do if something happened to you." I squeezed back, playing my part. "Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm too stubborn to die." She laughed, but something flickered in her eyes. Impatience, maybe, or frustration that I wasn't cooperating with her timeline. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife. the woman who was systematically poisoning me and planned my counterattack. Dorothy had given me a wire to wear and taught me how to use it. Tomorrow, Patricia would make her appointment with Harvey, and I'd be recording every word. The appointment with Harvey was scheduled for the following Thursday. Patricia drove me to the hospital, chatting nervously about traffic and the weather. I had the wire hidden under my shirt, Dorothy's team positioned around the building. Harvey Coleman's office was on the 4th floor of the cardiac wing. He was younger than I'd expected, with perfectly styled hair and an expensive watch. The kind of doctor who made you feel like you were wasting his time. "Mr. Pierce," he said, shaking my hand. "Patricia tells me you've been having some cardiac episodes." "That's right. Chest pains, irregular heartbeat, dizziness." Harvey nodded, making notes. Patricia sat beside me, playing the concerned wife. "He's been so worried," she said. "I keep telling him these things happen to men his age." "Let's run some tests," Harvey said. "EKG, blood work, the usual battery." But Patricia's right. At 58, these symptoms are quite common. He was building the medical record they'd need to justify my death. The tests took 2 hours. Harvey found exactly what he was looking for. Minor irregularities that could be interpreted as early heart disease. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but enough to support a diagnosis. "Well, Mr. Pierce," he said, reviewing the results, "you do have some cardiac stress. Nothing unusual for a man your age, but we should monitor it closely." "What does that mean?" I asked. Harvey exchanged a look with Patricia. "I'd like to prescribe a medication to help regulate your heart rhythm. Patricia can't administer it at home. She's very experienced with cardiac patients." "What kind of medication?" "A digitalis-based compound, very effective for your condition." I almost laughed. They weren't even trying to be subtle anymore. "Is it safe?" I asked. "Completely safe when properly administered," Harvey said. "Patricia knows the correct dosages." I bet she did. That evening, Patricia was more affectionate than she'd been in months. She cooked my favorite dinner, opened a bottle of wine, suggested we watch a movie together. She was celebrating, though she tried to hide it. "Harvey seems like a good doctor," I said. "The best," Patricia agreed. "You're in excellent hands. When do I start the new medication?" Patricia's smile faltered slightly. "Soon. Harvey wants to start you on a higher dose than usual, given your symptoms. But don't worry, I'll make sure you get exactly what you need." Over the next few days, I watched Patricia's behavior change. She was more attentive, more loving, more concerned about my health. She kept asking how I felt, suggesting I rest more, encouraging me to take naps. She was preparing for the final phase. Carl called me Tuesday afternoon. "How's the investigation going?" "Almost over," I said, making sure Patricia was out of earshot. "They're planning something for this week. Be careful, Howard. You're playing with fire. I've been playing with fire for 32 years. I know what I'm doing." But as the week progressed, I started having doubts. What if something went wrong? What if Dorothy's team wasn't quick enough? What if Patricia decided to try a different method? Wednesday night, Patricia made her special smoothie one last time. "This should help you sleep better," she said, handing me the glass. Harvey said, "Good rest is crucial for heart patients." I pretended to drink it, then excused myself to use the bathroom. Dorothy's team had analyzed the previous samples. They were getting stronger. Patricia was building up to the final dose. Thursday morning, I woke up to Patricia standing over my bed with a syringe. "Good morning, sweetheart," she said softly. "Time for your medication." My heart was pounding, but not from any heart condition. This was it. The moment we'd been waiting for. "What's that?" I asked, sitting up slowly. "Harvey's new medication. He wants to try an injectable form, more effective than pills. I don't like needles." Patricia's smile was patient, practiced. "It's just a little pinch, honey. This will make you feel so much better." She was right about that. I'd feel much better when she was behind bars. "Patricia," I said, "before you give me that shot, there's something I need to tell you." She paused, syringe in hand. "What is it?" "I know about Harvey." Her face went white. "What do you mean?" "I know about the affair. I know about the emails. I know about the Caribbean cruise you booked for next month." Patricia's hand was shaking now. The syringe trembled in her grip. "Howard, I don't know what you're talking about. I know about the digitalis you've been putting in my smoothies for the last 6 months. I know about the plan to kill me and collect the insurance money." She took a step back, still holding the syringe. You're paranoid. The stress is affecting your mind. Actually, I said, standing up slowly, I'm thinking more clearly than I have in months. Probably because I stopped drinking your poison smoothies 3 weeks ago. Patricia's mask finally slipped. Her concerned expression dissolved, replaced by something cold and calculating. You can't prove anything, she said. Can I? I lifted my shirt, showing her the wire. I've been recording everything, Patricia. The police have been listening to our entire conversation. She stared at the wire, then at me, then at the syringe in her hand. Drop the syringe, Patricia, I said. It's over. Instead, she lunged at me with the needle. I caught her wrist just as the needle came toward my neck. Patricia was stronger than I'd expected, but 32 years of police work had kept me in decent shape. We struggled for a few seconds before the bedroom door burst open. Police! Drop the weapon! Detective Dorothy Kane and 2 officers stormed in, guns drawn. Patricia froze, the syringe still in her hand, her face twisted with rage and desperation. Drop it now! Dorothy shouted. Patricia looked at me, then at the officers, then at the syringe. For a moment, I thought she might try to inject herself rather than face what was coming. Instead, she let it fall to the floor. Patricia Wells Pierce, Dorothy said, moving forward with handcuffs. You're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. As they cuffed her, Patricia turned to me one last time. You bastard, she hissed. You were supposed to die. 32 years investigating insurance fraud, I told her. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? They took her away in the back of a police car. I stood in my driveway, watching the taillights disappear, feeling oddly empty. The woman I'd loved, trusted, and planned to spend my remaining years with had been systematically trying to kill me for 6 months. Harvey Coleman was arrested at the hospital an hour later. They caught him trying to delete files from his computer, but our tech team had already copied everything. His wife served him with divorce papers the same day. The investigation that followed revealed the full scope of their plan. Patricia and Harvey had researched untraceable poisons for months, studied life insurance policies, even practiced injecting liquid into oranges to perfect their technique. They'd planned every detail except getting caught. The trial started 4 months later. I testified for 2 days, walking the jury through my investigation step by step. The prosecutor played recordings of Patricia and Harvey discussing my death like they were planning a vacation. The jury heard Patricia complaining about having to play the loving wife while she slowly poisoned me. Carl testified about similar cases we'd worked, explaining how medical professionals sometimes use their knowledge to commit the perfect crime. The lab technician confirmed the digitalis in my smoothie samples. The surveillance footage showed Patricia preparing the poison drinks every morning. Harvey had already accepted a plea deal in exchange for testimony against Patricia. He described how she'd approached him with the idea, how they'd planned it together, how she'd convinced him that killing me was their only path to happiness. She told me Howard was old, that he'd had a good life, Harvey testified. She said the insurance money would let us start fresh somewhere warm. I wanted to believe her. Patricia's defense attorney tried to paint Harvey as the mastermind, Patricia as a manipulated victim. But the evidence was overwhelming. The emails came from her accounts. The poison was found in her possession. The injection attempt was caught on tape. The most damaging testimony came from Patricia's coworkers at the hospital. Several nurses described how Patricia had asked suspicious questions about cardiac medications, drug interactions, and autopsy procedures. One remembered Patricia researching how long digitalis stayed in the human system after death. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge addressed Patricia directly. You betrayed the most fundamental trust between spouses. You used your medical knowledge to systematically poison a man who loved you. The callousness of your actions represents a profound moral failure. Patricia got 20 years for attempted murder and conspiracy. Harvey got 15 years and lost his medical license permanently. His medical career was over, his family destroyed, his future reduced to a prison cell. I kept the house and all my assets. The $400,000 life insurance policy Patricia had pushed me to get, I used it to start a foundation that investigates suspicious deaths in older men. Turns out, there's a disturbing pattern of younger women targeting financially stable widowers. Dorothy Kane sends me cases now. Men who suspect their wives or girlfriends might be trying to harm them. I teach them what warning signs to watch for, how to gather evidence, how to protect themselves without alerting their potential killers. We've prevented 8 attempted murders in the past 2 years. Each case follows a similar pattern: new relationship, pressure to increase life insurance, mysterious health problems, overly concerned partner with medical knowledge or connections. The foundation has helped establish protocols for hospitals and insurance companies to flag suspicious claims. We've trained investigators to recognize the signs of spousal poisoning. We've saved lives. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if Carl hadn't called that day, if he hadn't reminded me of the Detroit case. I'd be dead, and Patricia would be on a beach somewhere with Harvey, spending my insurance money and laughing about how easy it was to fool the old investigator. Instead, she's in a federal prison in Ohio, and Harvey's serving his sentence in Pennsylvania. They'll both be in their 60s before they're eligible for parole. Their dream of a Caribbean retirement became a nightmare of concrete walls and prison uniforms. The experience changed me. I don't trust as easily as I used to. I make my own food, handle my own medications, and I've learned to listen to those investigative instincts that saved my life. When something feels wrong, it usually is. I still live in the same house, but I've remodeled the kitchen completely. Couldn't stand looking at the counter where Patricia prepared those poison smoothies every morning while telling me how much she loved me. These days, I make my own breakfast: coffee, toast, sometimes eggs, simple food that no one else has touched. And I sleep better knowing the only person with access to my kitchen is me. The moral of the story: when someone you've known for a short time starts pushing you to increase your life insurance and making you special drinks, pay attention. Your instincts might be the only thing standing between you and a very expensive funeral. Trust your gut. It might just save your life. Sometimes the person trying to kill you is sleeping right next to you, and the only thing that can save you is trusting those instincts you've spent a lifetime developing. Love might be blind, but experience never is. And when you've investigated fraud for 32 years, you learn that the most dangerous criminals are often the ones who know exactly how much you're worth dead.